Hi, you are currently being recorded.
So I guess we'll start. So, welcome to, we're calling this the Pivotable Pod.
The Pivotable Pod.
Pivotable Pod. And we
like
got that I'm sure you watched the Nationals, but James Stewart, like, he wasn't my favorite racer because, like, obviously he was on our team. He was a handful to deal with. But, dude, I think he's one of the best broadcasting guys. He's so freaking funny, dude.
He's actually surprised me a lot, and he's such a breath of fresh air when he's on, because like his sayings and like the things that he does, you're laughing, but you're like, whoa, that really makes sense, dude. Like what he said.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I love it, dude.
So that's where we got the name. He said something like, oh, that guy's pivotable.
Perfect.
I'm like, dude, I'm going to use that somewhere.
All right.
So and
let's pivot. Let's pivot.
We're pivoting. We're going to be pivoting, but that's kind of the thing is like, whether we're talking to you or a musician or a road racing guy, we're going to just kind of like have fun. And I just want to talk to the people that I want to talk to, you know, and you were obviously the first guy on our list when we were talking about doing this. I'm like, hey, I think we can get Lil D in here.
Yeah, well, I'm super honored. I'm stoked I ran into you at the AIM show and turned the corner and saw you, and you're like, dude, I've been meaning to come find you. I got this idea, and I was like, dude, I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah, you were right away. You're just like, let's go.
Well, this industry is so great, like, because, you know, fortunately, like, moto is like kind of a cool thing. So whether you're skate, surf, you know, we touch so many people outside of our sport alone. So like for you guys to be able to start a podcast and be able to not just touch on moto guys, like you can take this so many different places because so many people love motocross, right? Yeah. So, and that's obviously the passion that we share and our companies share. And so, yeah, I'm stoked to be on the podcast, man.
Yeah. It's so funny when we started communicating, like, okay, here's the date when we want to do this. We were trying to call each other, and like it's like our phones wouldn't even talk to each other. Like, hey, dude, I got your voicemail. He's like, it's not ringing.
Dude, I'm calling you. You're calling me. Nothing's coming through, but our text are, and I'm like, what is going on? I think our thing saw that it was like, oh, this is a Yosh number. This is an FMF number. We can't connect.
You're not supposed to talk to each other.
You're not allowed to talk to each other, but here we are because, you know, like you said, we're two amazing brands that have been in this sport for so long. And I mean, start there, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, you guys have so much deep roots in, you know, from the road racing now into moto, and we come straight from like the moto side. And, but yeah, here's two rad exhaust companies, coming together on a podcast, and let's talk some shit.
Yeah. Well, before we start,
okay.
Like I said,
we haven't started yet.
Well, no, we haven't started yet. I got you something. And I kind of outdid myself, I think, on this. But I'm like, I got it. I want to. I mean, consider an olive branch or whatever you want to call it. But I wanted to give you something that means something, and that's kind of one of the things on the pod. We want to give guests like a gift, like for coming. So you just can't come and go, oh, I did this podcast, let's go eat lunch, right?
Yeah.
So I got you something that I hope is a really cool throwback.
Whoa, what is going on here?
Well, check it out. You got to open it up and check it out.
Wow. I feel like
it's a really
no way, dude. Where did you find or get this made?
Well, I was trying to find a BMX frame, but they're unobtainable. So it's a real Paulson visor.
Oh my gosh.
And a real Jofa. It's a replica helmet, but it's painted like that.
It's insane. Dude, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I wanted to give you something that, like, you sit on your desk and you're like, oh, that time I did that podcast wasn't that bad, you know?
I've gotten a lot of cool stuff over the years, but I mean, this might be the one of the coolest things, because I think, you know, being that my dad started in 1973
it's got the AMA sticker.
I know.
Yeah.
There's just, you know, he was never great at like keeping a lot of nostalgic stuff, just because he never knew where FMF was going to go, right? And so anytime I can get my hands on like something special, like an old jersey or something that someone has, I try to grab it. And so this is like so cool to me, because this really just highlights such an important time in FMF's, you know, timeline of when you saw guys with the red and yellow jerseys, the red and yellow helmets. It was like the FMF boys were coming to play, right? So, dude, this is thank you so much.
Yeah,
this is
not
super
a problem,
meaningful.
dude. Like,
So,
like I said, I just like.
Can we put that right here?
Yeah,
just
sure,
so it's like, bam. Now we got a prop.
Yeah. So we let's turn it sideways so people can see it a little bit better. But
Wow.
I wanted to do it, like I said, BMX frame, because I think, for me, I grew up racing BMX and stuff, and when I think of FMF, I think of the old porcupine heads, those cool advertisements at the back of Motocross Action, and I think of all the guys that aluminum frame that was an FMF thing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that was for me the symbol of SoCal that was like freaking. They can't do anything but cool in Southern California, right? And your brand was so attached and is attached to that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are trying to kick the cool vibe out of California now, but it's hard. We're keeping it strong.
You always have SoCal, cool vibe, man, and that it's exciting because like you'll be able to tell me more about like the BMX side of things because that was before me. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel young, but I'm old. But I wasn't around in the 70s, so I only got to witness like what the late 80s and 90s brought. So hearing any stories, I just like I think that's one of the cool things too is like with the brand being around for so long, so many people have so many stories. So like when I'm going to races and things like that, people are coming up to me and like, oh, back in the day, like me and your dad were partying one night and we were going to the race in a rental car and he wrecked the rental car and it was just like all this stuff. I'm just like back in the day when you could do stuff like that and have fun and not be like
before phones.
We got you tracked right here, sir. Like we know exactly where you went with this rental car. You stuck it in this ditch at that time. But yeah, no. So that so cool. I mean, like I said, the history and being able to hear stories of my dad and FMF coming up and, me now just trying to be big of a part of it as possible and working there since I was a little kid. And so, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. You're the son of Don Emler Sr. And he's a AMA Hall of Famer and everybody, he's iconic. Your dad's as iconic as the brand almost, right?
That's a great point. I think, obviously everyone sees the red and yellow logo. It's kind of been the same, logo since the early 70s, same red and yellow. But yeah, like you said, I think my dad's kind of made obviously a name for himself of coming up and now being a AMA Hall of Fame member just for the contributions he's done over the years in the sport that he loved. And, me growing up, getting to ride with my dad and, there's so much coolness like that goes along with my dad and like kind of who he is like on off the bike, in the shop, out in the field, so it's special.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool because like like you were saying earlier, like my dad didn't know like the thing was going to blow up or do what it did. So he didn't keep a lot of stuff. So it's like when he's going through these phases in the 70s and however the BMX thing happened and then the 80s thing happened and then two-stroke pipes are just like aftermarket stuff is just blowing up. I mean, you don't know that stuff's happening. And then you look back 30 years or 40 years and you're just like, what the heck? And now you guys are 50 plus years old. And it's like, wow, we've been doing this for a long time. And like not only the brand, but my dad has this crazy history of like these crazy people he met. And somehow this company kept churning along, whether it was the right people in R&D or the right people back in the shop making stuff.
Right.
I mean, you at some point you've got to have this chemistry and people want to work for you and they want to build your stuff. Otherwise you don't make stuff, right?
And it's, we'll touch on it, but just like, you guys here at Yoshimura, I mean, we build everything for the most part in-house. I mean, there's very little things that get sent out. So that's, super special just to see like where it started and kind of now where it is. But, over the years you see, these iconic brands, Fox Racing, Eddie Cole, like people like that, like they had no idea like where the business was going to go. Yeah. They were just in a time of
I can make money doing
motocross is blowing up in Southern California. All the fast riders are from Southern California. It was like just like the right time to be like in the sport to start off. And now, like you said, over 50 years later, and, there's so many of these kind of iconic brands. And it's like seeing that FMF is kind of one of those companies that is kind of like, you think of motocross, you think of Fox, you think of FMF, maybe, an Alpine Stars, Yoshimura for being around so long. It's just Pro Circuit, and it's just those it's really, really cool to see that, like, especially when the people still own the brands, right? Like so many of these, great companies kind of have come and gone because they've gotten bought out, by VC groups or whatnot. And then they kind of just go to the wayside because the passion,
the soul gets ripped out of the company.
They're not riders. They're not building stuff to make it better on the weekend. They're looking at the bottom line and, obviously it's, you got to look at the bottom line to be successful, but at the same time, if you lose that passion, there's a lot of,
I think, your reason for being, your true north gets lost.
Totally.
Because like a guy like your dad, like, and for Yoshimura starting out with Pops, it's like they started out wanting to make something really good, right? And so when you lose that true north and you're thinking about just chasing money, it's like, well, you could be doing anything doing that.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you make toilet paper or something? Like somebody could sell a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean these guys, whether it was Pops or my dad, call him Pops too. They wanted to make something that someone could feel. Yeah. Like, right? Like, so when you put an FMF exhaust on, or back in the day when my dad was building, taking Honda Elsinores and completely taking them apart and making them better, you wanted someone to be able to feel the power. That's that's our tagline, and it's been there forever. But it's when people feel that they get this sense of, that's why combustion engines are so, great, and you hear the sound and you smell it. Yeah, you smell it. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, and I think it's great, and it's crazy to see kind of like where we are, and being able to work alongside my dad is pretty special. So
yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to blow too much wind up your skirt, but like on an iconic guy like your dad, you get to ride right alongside of him, and you hear these stories. And it's the same thing with Yusaku. Like we're at Laguna Seca at Sea Otter, this big bicycle event, right? And these people come up, who's like, I used to race here with your grandpa, and blah, blah, blah. And there's the first turn over there. And it's like, dude, what Twilight Zone are we in? Like, you hear these crazy stories, just like you were saying. It's like, but how cool it is to work alongside of your dad. And then, you've got kids too, like wherever the company goes and whatever happens, like I'm sure at some point, you'll want to, if your son wants to get into the business or something, I'm sorry, you're going to like, hey, if you want to do this, you better start sweeping the floors. And that's kind of where you started, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny because, I remember just as a kid, it'd be summer, I'd go to hang out with my dad for a couple of days, and we'd go to work every day. And then, he'd let me put stickers on silencers and things like that. And after about 4 hours, I was like, I want to do something different. He's like, no, this is work, man. Like you gotta finish out the day. But, so I was very fortunate because I had a path if I wanted it. Right. So, And
do you think he was cool? Like if you didn't want to do it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was trying to do like the graduate high school. The proper thing for me to do is go to college, right? So I was doing that, but I was also working during the day for my dad and going to night school. And it finally came to a point where I was just like, it was just too much. I was like, I was going to buckle at one point or the other.
Yeah, something's got to give.
Yeah. I'm like, it's either work or school. And then I just told him one day, I was like, dude, I can't do both. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to work for you. And he goes, well, there's your answer. So I like quit school the next day. And, he's like, you're going to learn a lot more coming to work every day here and learning the different facets of the business. And, me and my dad are kind of a little bit different, right? Like my mind kind of thinks of very creative, and I love the business side of everything, and, very creative in his own right because look what he's created. But he's very like, he's been a tinkerer his whole life. Like he grew up working on things, trying to figure out how to make them better, whether it was a lawnmower or a go-kart when he was a kid. And so he loves being in the shop, figuring out how to make things more efficient, tooling, all that kind of stuff where, I'm a little bit different in that aspect, which I think works good because it's like, I'm focused on trying to keep this brand going in the right direction. And he's, very focused on how can we, make more product.
Yeah.
I've said before, it's like we make a ton of different, part numbers and everything in FMF, but there comes a time where you've hit this ceiling, right? So it's like, how do we be more efficient so we can make more product throughout the day without, sacrificing, the rest of the business and trying to figure out ways to grow it, but at the same time, not too fast to where your product starts getting,
Watered
out of
down.
line. Yeah, watered down, and you want that quality. And someone, when they buy an exhaust pipe, they know FMF and Yosh and for the quality that you're buying, right?
Yeah.
You're putting it on the bike. So,
but I think that's kind of smart, like for your dad to kind of let that thing happen, because almost like kind of me here, they didn't, when I first came to work at Yosh, I haven't, they didn't, okay, here's your job. They actually, funny story, but they didn't even have a job opening. And this one guy that was here was like, hey dude, we need Big E at this place. Well, so they made a job for me. And so ever since then though, for me, and I've been here 13 years or whatever,
that's crazy that you've already been here for 13 years.
I know, it's nuts, dude.
Because I've known you since I was like a little grom when you were at Transworld.
And then
Answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we're both dating ourselves a little bit, but I mean, we've known each other for a long time. And I think and I totally cut you off, but I mean, I think that's one of the great things about our sport is it is such a, it's a big sport, but everyone in the industry knows each other. And we can all high five at races and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So it's that's what I think someone like me or even like you, we take pride in knowing that wherever I go, if I give someone my word or say I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow through, and I want to be known for kind of my own little legacy outside of FMF, right?
Dude, it's because it's so small, you can't hide.
No, exactly.
You can't tell somebody you're going to do something and then not do it and then be like, that dude's shady.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we've come across those people, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's very important. That's a great quality that I want to pass down to my kids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's people don't forget, let's be the best person that we can be.
I mean, dude, life is way too short.
Yeah.
You're getting old enough to know, I look around me and I see people doing it the wrong way. And I'm like, man, and that's part of just, we were talking about the win ads around the shop and stuff. I'm like, dude, life is too short. I want, and you guys win a lot too, but I want I want every single win. I don't want to forget about that Unadilla win or whatever I want to make sure that everything that we do is celebrated, right? Because it's a lot of work to do that stuff. And so I feel like life is way too short to be a jerk, I guess, in lack of better terms.
Well, like you said, it's really hard to do that. And there's not a lot of people that can make exhaust products, right? So, I mean, there's 3 of us real here in the United States, I mean, there's obviously some other smaller guys, but the big 3, right? FMF, Yoshimura, Pro Circuit.
Yeah.
It's not something that anyone can just make a goggle.
Yeah.
Can't just make.
I'm in the same factory as guys, just
everyone
make
else.
It like this, right?
Yeah. The same factory in Taiwan makes everyone's goggles, right? To build an exhaust, and there's so many tiny components that have to come together to make that product. And I think people don't really understand. I mean, you guys have had, riders come here, and we've, plenty of people come by our shop, and they're just like, wow, I didn't know what goes into actually making an exhaust. This is insane. I'm like, yeah, this didn't just happen overnight. And that's why it's a thing that's very, especially to do in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
We're still manufacturing right here under the Yosh roof, under our roof. And so
I don't know how we do it. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you guys got about the same number. We got about 100 employees, you do too. And it's we're in a state that barely lets you breathe. They're taxing you to breathe, and we're making exhaust pipes for dirt bikes and street bikes. And it's
yeah, we're about to get taxed for driving, dude. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to come back out here anymore because it's too far.
We'll send a Uber for you.
Let him get taxed. Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying, one of the cool things that I think the company has let me do, and it seems like your dad has, is they've kind of they've focused on my strengths. They're not trying to make me do something I'm not good at. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, Big E's good at this. Let him do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's maybe a little bit, I don't know, sounds like what your dad's like, hey, Donny Jr. is good at doing this stuff. He wants to do it. Let him run with this marketing brand development thing, right? And look what's happened. It's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I feel like like I said, I feel like I'm young, but now I look back, I'm like, I've been doing this for over 25 years. Geez.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's been fun though. I mean, like you said, I really, really enjoy my job and getting to represent such an iconic brand, and just kind of seeing where we can take it to the next level and be around for a long time. It's a brand that I want to keep celebrating and keep making rad product for, and make stuff for dirt bikes that people love.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about you is you can see that you love what you do. And then when somebody loves what they do, it's hard not to like embrace it, right? Like it's like you see somebody just wrap their arms around something like your brand and what you do and your riders and the teams that you do. It's like you bleed for it. And like when you see that I consider myself a real consumer. When I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, you can't fake that.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's real.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to put yourself in the consumer's mindset, right? Like when you're making something or coming out with a marketing campaign, is it going to get seen? Are people going to dig that? Like, are people going to like this product? Do they like the look of it? So you always have to put yourself in those shoes, and I think that's very smart. And yeah, I mean, I still absolutely love what I get to do. Like, on the way here, I was asked to go to Indy Supercross, and I wasn't planning on going to Indy Supercross this weekend. I don't know when this pod is going to drop, but anyways, Indy Supercross is coming up this weekend, and now I'm like, well, this kind of sounds fun. Yeah. Like, I might go. Hop on an airplane. Yeah, it's good.
Go see
that. But I used to. It's crazy because people ask me like, oh, you don't go to like a ton of races anymore. I'm like, well, now I'm kind of in the point where obviously I have a family, so I don't want to be traveling every weekend, because when I was younger, I would go anywhere you told me to go. Like
Same.
I'm like part of the circus. Like, put me on tour, dude. Yeah. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, wherever it is, amateur races, outdoors. Now, I'm in the kind of the position where I can pick and choose. Is it worth me really going there? Is it going to be beneficial for FMF, or do I have meetings there? So,
well, it's kind of like the shop, right? We were talking about earlier. Like, we can do all this stuff, right? But should we, right?
Yeah.
So do we have the bandwidth in the shop? And it's the same thing in your personal life. It's like, well, I could go to Indy Supercross, or I can go to my kid's baseball game.
Yeah.
Like there's so many more things as we get older pulling at our time. Like, well, I want to go dirt bike riding, but my kid's got a baseball game, and there's Indy Supercross, whatever those things are. And it's just like, dude, I just want to put the remote control in the auto drive. Right?
I really want to ride my dirt bike. I gotta get back on that thing. I've been lagging. It's been, we had some great rain here in SoCal, and got to get out a couple times for that. And then next thing you know, it's going to be summertime. It's going to be too hot. So, but yeah, I think it's important, like that, I love to ride my motorcycle, like whether it's off-road or moto, like that's something that's a huge part of me. And it's really kind of like, well, obviously I call it my DNA is motocross and motorcycles. And I just love our sport, man. I love the off-road aspect and the racing and just the going out to the desert with your family. And then I, obviously love the pro motocross, supercross, amateur racing. It's just such a huge part of not only who I am, but our company, and just trying to cover all those facets of our sport. It's, like I said, it's small sport, but we have so many different types of facets of racing. So trying to touch all those, it's tough. Like you gotta kind of be everywhere in our sport to kind of take your brand, or at least our brand, to that level.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I just want to say thank you from a pure, maybe just a fan of the sport, for what FMF does. I mean, we're Yoshimura. We can only do so much, and the same thing it's about the capacity, right? But you guys do so much for the sport, whether it's sponsoring a team, sponsoring riders, giving out exhaust pipes for privateers, whatever those things are, right? It's a lot, and you spend a lot of money advertising. You see the FMF logos splattered on, tough blocks and all these places, right? Like, you spend a lot of money, and like I think that you could easily go, hey, you know what? I want to spend half as much money this year, but I think you make a conscious decision not to do that. And I just want to say from us, from our company, and from me personally, like, thank you for doing that, because we look at it and we're like, dude, if something ever happened to FMF, like, God forbid, whatever, but who's going to fill that hole? Like, dude, you guys do
You guys
so
have
much.
to step up.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I don't know how we would have to grow so much bigger, and we don't make a two-stroke pipe. We never have. We never will. And that's kind of our thing about staying in our lane, you know? But man, you guys do so much, dude.
And you talk about staying in your lane. I mean, not that you have to stay in that lane, but I think we all do something like really, really well. Like, you know, Mitch is very focused on, you know, factory racing, his racing team. And that's, you know, one way he's propelled his business forward. You know, we didn't, when I was growing up, like FMF, we didn't have any of the factory teams, you know, like eventually we had the Honda factory Honda 125 team for about 3 years, you know, working directly with Honda. And that was great, but you know, spending so much money owning a race team, right? So Mitch has obviously been able to do it for so long and be successful with it. But like I said, when I was growing up, we didn't have all the guys. Mitch had all the guys. They had, you know, he had everyone on a two-stroke pipe on every factory team. And so we just kind of had to figure out like, okay, well, we're going to go after a different part of the sport. We're going to go after more like off-road. We're still going to support like some privateers and work with who we can in the supercross, motocross, you know, side of things. Whether like, you know, I remember one point like we had like Doug Henry or John Dowd, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like, you know, those guys. And so we kind of had to like figure out our own little lane of, okay, let's go support amateur racing. Like, let's go in that heavy. Let's send a semi to all the major amateur races, and let's really try to build it from like the grassroots up. And you know, because at the end of the day, like those are the people spending money, right? Yeah. They're going racing, they're buying products. So, you know, we had to pick our own little lane, and now it's, you know, gone to a point where, now we're obviously have been, you know, for the last 20 years, we've been really, you know, well off with, you know, professional racing teams, but, you know, and you guys have had your own lane, like where you guys came in as, you know, the road race guys and, you know, factory road racing and, you know, running and owning teams. And so it's, you know, it's cool to see like how everyone can kind of still play in our own little space, because at the end, if there's only one aftermarket company that you could buy, it's just oversaturated.
The
right?
customer, like the customer would be the one suffering, right?
And
the sport.
And you have to have that competition. And but that kind of going back to, you know, sponsoring and kind of giving back to the sport. I mean, yeah, like you said, we could literally like stop doing, you know, probably most of the stuff that we do for a year, and it probably wouldn't affect our business, right? But it's something that we love to be able to give back, like you said. And it's also important. It's like who we are. And, you know, I just like kind of ran like a crazy stat the other day of like, you know, we have FMF repeater banners that go to, you know, all the events that we sponsor. And I think like we gave out like 50 miles of FMF repeater banner last year. So yeah, there you see, like you said, you see a lot of FMF banners at all the different events and stuff that we sponsor. And I don't know, we love it. I mean, it's so rad being able to work with, like you guys work with factory Honda. I mean, and you guys get to work with Jet Lawrence and win championships. And it goes back to showing you like all that hard work, and from R&D time to development and figuring out how to make things better for the race team. And then they go out and win. It's so rewarding, you know. So like when we win, you know, off-road championships or supercross, motocross championships, it is very, very rewarding, especially to see kind of like starting from a garage when my dad started the company in 1973, just literally his garage, and then kind of seeing where it is now. I mean, it's super cool.
Yeah, it is rad. I just thought of something, like when you told your dad you were coming over here, what did he say? I mean, you had to tell him, right?
Oh yeah. I was like, hey, so just so you know, next Tuesday I'm going to do a podcast with Big E down at Yosh. And he's like, at Yosh? I'm like, yeah. He's like, awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
He's like, tell the guys I said hi down there, you know? Like,
cool.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah. So, no, I mean, my dad would geek out coming down here just seeing, because, you know, we do stuff differently than you guys as far as the manufacturing. So like he would love,
and that's okay. And that's what I think is cool, is like so many people, you know, for me, because I do the marketing here, and people are like, oh, FMF's doing this. I'm like, that's cool. They're FMF. Yeah. Like they are doing things the way FMF does stuff. And and that's what I think is cool about all three companies, Pro Circuit, and that we do stuff differently. Our how we do it, and we're not trying to beat each other, right? We're trying to be our own brand. And I think, you know, I know I understand that from your aspect. I don't know Mitch that well, but seems like you said, he's running a race team. He's got like 78 sponsors to help push that thing down the road. but he's also doing suspension and he's doing engine work and he's selling aftermarket whatever. And it's like, so like he has his own lane. You guys do your own thing. We do our own thing. And it's like, it's cool that we can coexist and still be competitors at the highest level. Yeah. Right.
We're racing at the highest level form of racing in our space, which is really cool. And we all have factory teams that we support. And, you know,
and we work like these athletes that ride, that make these dirt bikes do things like how do these?
It's incredible. I mean, I absolutely love our sport. I mean, it can be tough sometimes, you know, injuries and all that kind of stuff. And that's the hard thing about our sport. But I mean, these guys are full gladiators, and getting to see them, like I get, just like you, I get so excited to like turn on the race. It's Saturday, like it's race day, let's go, you know. But you know, my dad always says like he's just a garage guy at heart, like, you know. So like a lot of things that we do are like people come in like, why would you do it that way? He's like, I don't know, this is just how we've learned how to do it. Like we've taught ourselves. No one came in here and said, this is how you need to run this machine. It's like, no, we just kind of made it work for what we need it to do. And then there'll be like sometimes where, you know, we'll get a new piece of equipment and whoever's delivering it, they'll send out their sales guy, and he's like, oh no, you can't do it that way. It's not going to do this. And my dad's like, watch me, like we'll figure it out. Like, and then they come back like a year later to check on us. They're like, oh my gosh, like you guys are actually doing it. And my dad's like, yeah, why? In my mind, I just figured it out. Like, you know, like, so it is cool, like to see the manufacturing side of things. And like I said, my dad would fully like geek out coming here and just being like, oh, that's really cool. That's like that they're doing it that way.
Tell him he can come down anytime.
Yeah.
Like tell him that, and if I get fired over it, whatever. But yeah, I'd love to have.
We'll get him on the podcast next.
Senior,
dude.
yeah. Hey, actually, that'd be pretty sick.
That would be. Everyone tries to get him to go on a podcast, and he's like,
I don't have anything to say.
I don't know.
I got work to do.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have time for that. Blah blah blah. Like, yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm like trying to sit him down, get him to sit down long enough because I want to write like a kind of a cool little coffee table book about like the history of FMF and some of his stories and stuff like that, because he's got such a great, like, my dad's 74 now, but his memory's so sharp, so like he could literally tell you stories from like the early 70s. I'm like, I don't even know how you remember that back then, because
you need to start writing that stuff down.
You got to be fried by now.
Because there's going to be a time where you're like, I wish I would have wrote it down. Like, because like, again, the stories that he might have inside of his head, dude, there are just bazillions of them, and somebody would kill to read that stuff.
Or just getting stories from all the other people too, like, would be just hilarious. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, and then there was time.
I remember
like,
your dad was running down the street.
It's like serious, and all of a sudden there's like this funny like story that came from like Teddy Boyko, right? Like, it's like, oh my God, like me and your dad, like I said, like we got arrested one time for doing this, and I'm like, oh my God, and you guys raced the next day? Oh yeah, we got out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's the 70s, dude. Different times, dude.
Have you ever worked anywhere else but FMF?
Oh, that's funny. That's a great question. Yeah. So my first job, 15 years old, I went to the Family Fun Center by my house, got a job doing like bumper boats, go-karts. Thought it was the coolest job because
it's so rad. I mean,
you know, you used to love going up and going putt-putt golfing and get on the bumper boats and stuff. So I was like, who wouldn't want to work here? Yeah. So I did that for about a year, and then I worked at like a learning center through school, like just helping kids like after school, like program like math and reading and stuff like that. So I've always loved to work just because, you know, I just kind of got that between my mom and my dad, just like that hard work ethic. So and you know how it is. It never shuts off, right? Like we're always working, we're always checking emails. Like the digital age has made it so easy to continue to work. You're never just like clocking out. You're always getting calls and emails.
You're a lot like me too, or like, because we care so much about what we do, we want to stay clued in. Like if I need to do something, or if I need to get an ad to cycle, whatever those things are, right? Like it's like, dude, you do that 24 hours a day.
Well, that's happening on Saturday as soon as you guys win a Supercross, right? We're already thinking of like, okay, this is how we got to start thinking about how we're going to lay the ad out, because it's due on Monday, and you guys still have to design it and stuff. So yeah, it's always like, you know, and we follow so many types of racing, right? From MotoGP to, I just love it. Like I love racing. Like it
doesn't ever turn off.
No, it never turns off. And I think my wife would probably say, I wish it did turn off every once in a while, so you could just not be thinking about that. But it's always in the back of our head. And
Yeah, my wife's really good at reminding me, like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time to turn that off.
Just put your phone away for a little bit. How about that, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When did you know that FMF was going to be your career path? Was there a light bulb, or did you kind of just like drift into it, or how did it work?
I'll tell you what, when I was like a young little grom walking around the races with my dad, I was so excited to go to the races, but then I'd get so bummed walking around with him because he couldn't go 5 feet without stopping to talk to someone, right? And I'm just be like, Dad, like, let's go, and it feels like an eternity when you're a little kid.
Now your kid's probably
now
doing that.
Flash forward, Ethan's now, since he's 10, but when he was even younger, I'd take him to Supercross. Oh, dude, you're coming with me today. We're going to go to the pits, cruise around. Yeah, Dad, that's fun for a little bit, but you can't go 5 feet without stopping to talk to someone. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just remember like what that felt like, right? Yeah. But no, I used to just love seeing what my dad was doing. But I think really like around 18, 19, that's when I kind of really like knew like, hey, like this is what I want to do. And it was cool because like when I first started working for my dad, out of high school, I asked him if I could take the box van to start going to some local races. I grew up with a lot of the local racer kids and stuff, so I'd want to go. Like, I wasn't really a racer myself. I just did it every once in a while for fun. Mm-hmm. These kids were already taking it very seriously, but I wanted to take it and just do the rider support aspect. So I would take the box van, go up to Golden State races, LACR, 395, all the fun events, tracks that are unfortunately no longer there anymore. But that's kind of how I started. I kind of just getting my feet wet and just meeting people, helping, sign up, future amateur riders for FMF. Then I started going to Loretta's and just kind of building this like rider support program. So yeah, it's kind of really where I started. I just handled and focused on like amateur racing, and then kind of just started building it from there. And now getting to work with all of our race teams and still the amateurs. And I go to Loretta's every year and try to get to a couple of the major amateur nationals just to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of like we've got such a great crew that attends all the races for us, so I don't have to worry about it. But I like to go there just to like show face and high five and go down to the line and like high five little groms and stuff like that. So I think it's things that like I know that they'll remember, that like, oh, like this person came by and said congratulations after the race or whatever. So just try to do little things like that.
Is your dad still riding at all?
He is not anymore, and he had a pretty big get off a couple years ago.
Right?
Yeah. Probably like almost 4 now, but yeah.
Dude, I don't even know what year it is anymore.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it flew by. But yeah, I mean, he was ripping. I'm like, dude, you're 70 years old. I can barely keep up with you. Like, my dad's the type of guy, like, he's not stopping until he's burnt through the whole tank of gas, and I'm like stopping, like trying to get like an energy bar real quick, and he just takes off again. Of course, he rides a 2-stroke only. So, but yeah, I mean, he unfortunately doesn't ride anymore. Would probably still be if he didn't get injured. But yeah, I'm just happy that he's it's not worse.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Has it affected his like I don't know? When you ride, you get a certain euphoric. You're on 2 wheels and you're feeling that. Can you see maybe your dad's like missing something? Yeah,
100%. And it's definitely kind of slowed him down a little bit because he's a spaz, so he's just like let's go constantly. And but thankfully he still has his big garage that he likes to play in, which is FMF Racing, and so he calls it he started in a little garage, now he's just got a bigger garage. So yeah, cool.
What are your earliest memories on a dirt bike?
That's hard because I feel like.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. No, I mean, just the first thing that pops in your head.
So my dad's dad lived in Apple Valley, California, which is high desert here in California, and a great place to still go off-road riding. Luckily in California, somehow we still have really a lot of open riding land, which is nice. So. Yeah, I grew up going to visit. I called him Grandpa Desert. It was my dad's dad. I'd go up there. My dad would even drop me off for like a week, and I'd have my first bike was an XR100. So I didn't start riding until I was like 6 years old because my dad didn't really want me to get into like the racing side of things. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of grew up.
XR100, that's not a 2-stroke.
No, I know. I think he got it for me because he knew it would run forever. And like if I was up there with Grandpa, like no one needed to work on it because all you had to do in an XR100 is put gas in it. Yeah. Like you never changed the oil, didn't need to change the air filter. Like it didn't matter. So he's like, let's just get him something that he can just continue to ride. I don't have to stress on like jetting and doing the whole deal. But so XR100, 6 years old, ripping around Grandpa Desert's house, dude. Yeah, just making little jumps out of nothing, just like BMX days of just like jumping off of, a piece of wood with yeah, whatever it took, dude.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And my first, I remember my first dirt bike. So I grew up, I always wanted to race dirt bikes, and my mom and dad got divorced when I was like 11 and it didn't happen. But when I had a dirt bike before I had a bicycle, and my first bike was a MR50. Oh. And so my dad went down to the local Honda shop. I got an MR50. It was 73. And my brother got a CR125 and my dad got a CR250. Oh. And on Sundays, we went out. We lived in New York. We went out east on Long Island. Okay. And there was a bunch of riding places out there.
Yeah.
And we went riding every Sunday.
That's
and
awesome.
It was just like
Team Honda.
Team Honda.
Yeah, you guys look at it. Nothing's changed, dude. Now you're Team Honda.
Yep. Just the background plate was green.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so crazy. Like it's so crazy. That's why I asked you that question. Like I vividly remember those times riding that bike and smelling the two-stroke smell of like just permeating everything from the helmet liner to your clothes. And it's just like, man, it's just like, it just sends you right back to 1973, 74 for me.
Especially when you smell like a good running two-stroke now or even hear one, you're just like, whoa, dude, that sounds insane. Or you hear one at like Supercross, like Jared Lesher, like as a privateer ripping a two-stroke, and it's just like the fans are just like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Yep. Like, or like when I was a kid, it was like going to Anaheim with my dad and hearing the two strokes just warming up in the tunnel. And before they came out, you're like, oh my God, the gladiators are coming. Like, and there's just smoke, just filled stadium. You're like, well, probably not good for you, but whatever.
Yeah. And the fans are just, I smell that race fuel.
Love it. It's so good. Now it's like race fuel. You smell it's so potent. Like in these four strokes, you like walk under a tent when the guys are like putting it in, you're like, dude, I don't know how you guys can even like work in here. That stuff is gnarly.
Yeah. It can't be good to breathe.
A couple weeks ago, I had to go get a bike from KTM, and it wasn't a factory bike, but it was a built bike that had race gas in it. And I left it in my garage for like one night. I walked out in the morning and my garage, like my eyes were stinging. I was just like, whoa, like this stuff is like literally seeping out of the plastic. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife wasn't happy about that.
We every year we go to the BMX Crayons with our bicycle thing, and we take a replica bike or a real bike.
Is that still in like Oklahoma?
Tulsa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I know some stuff about
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Good.
All right.
Nice. But we take Lars gives us a bike to borrow or whatever, and about 3 years ago, I'm like, hey, Lars, can I get a bike to take because he realized, he gets it, dude. The marketing value of having a dirt bike at the BMX race, like everybody wants to go take a picture with the bike.
Oh, it's huge.
But he gave us like the real bike one day. That 1 year. It was like two years ago. It wasn't a replica. It was like Jet's champ bike. So I'm like, okay. So I show up. I'm like, hey, Lars, that's the real bike.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, yeah, just take it, dude. I'm like, that's like 500. Like, I don't even know how much that thing's worth.
I don't even want to know. I don't even know if I want this.
Just don't let it out of your sight.
Yeah.
So we drive out to Oklahoma, dude, and it's freezing, and we're at the windows open in the van because the same thing, like the smell. Yeah. It's just like it's permeating everything.
It's overtaking. Yeah.
And there's no fuel in the tank,
and it's still
empty, and it's still like
wow. And
people that came by our tent, they're like, dude, that smell, like you could just smell it, right? I'm like, there's no fuel in that thing, but yeah, it's pretty cool what we do. But anyway, going back to, I wanted to ask you, part of my growing up on the BMX side is, did you ever race BMX at all?
I did. Yeah. Orange Y back in the day. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to love it. And I grew up I still live right next to Sheep Hills. So,
being
able to like go over there back in the day. And then I took my son over there and I was like trying to tell him like, he's like, no way someone can hit these, like, cause it looks like a wall, right?
Yeah.
These jumps. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but it's been too wet for, at Sheep Hills. But anyways, I grew up, loved racing BMX and, was friends with like the S&M guys when I was a kid because they're local in Huntington Beach, and that I was like Grom, so I was always just like hanging out over there with my bike. And yeah. And it turns out that FMF used to make BMX bicycles back in the day.
Dude,
so you got to tell me a little bit more about that.
That was the one thing I was actually searching for. I'm like, I'm going to probably spend a fortune on this, but I really want to give him, like, part of, again, what I think about when I FMF is those early aluminum frames. And, but yeah, it's just like, for me growing up, all like these hot, insane riders were riding FMF bikes, and like
Scott Breithaupt back in the day, like
Scott, Stu, Perry Kramer. There's so many guys that were like on FMF bikes. And I don't know, I think Race Inc. made them at that time. I don't remember. Okay. And that's why I wanted to ask you some stuff about that. But
wasn't it one of like the first aluminum frame?
It was the first aluminum frame. Well, I don't know if it was the first one because there were some others. But the FMF thing, I think for me was iconic because it was moto. Right? Yeah. Like there was G-Boys and there's some different Matthews, and I think some different people made some aluminum stuff. But when you saw an FMF BMX bike, it was like, oh, dude, that's moto.
Yeah, and I think one was like kind of a gold, and the other one was kind of like a red.
Yeah, I think there was blue ones too. Okay, but
I still got to get my hands on one of those.
A lot like the motocross bikes back then. The stuff just broke because it wasn't. Nobody ever was trying to figure it out.
We're not supposed to go that big on this old this BMX bike, and then these guys are jumping these things and sticking their leg out in the corner,
trying to find one of these frames that's not broken.
Yeah,
it's like a
diamond in the rough.
Yeah. So I was trying to find one, and I'm like, man, I really want to give him BMX frame for just coming and giving him a gift. So
I've seen them online, and like some of the ones that are like, well, they're in decent shape. They want a lot of money for them, and then there's
you can't find them.
Yeah, and I think Sipes or someone went to like the BMX Hall of Fame or museum or whatever, and there's just like this pristine FMF one there, and I have a photo of it. And I was like, dude, that's so rad. That's in like the BMX Hall of Fame. Yeah, like that's pretty cool. So,
like I said, like there were some iconic pioneers that rode FMF bikes back in the day. And I don't know, I don't really know the relationship between Scott Breithaupt because he went off to start making his own aluminum stuff called SE Racing. And but those early on, all the SE guys were riding FMFs.
Yeah.
So
and Scott's no longer around, and I think SC's probably been bought by someone else, but they're huge now, like SC bikes. But they're huge for the wheelie boys.
Yeah, but there's a guy, the guy that's really driving that brand and running, his name's Todd Lyons.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you know Todd.
He grew up in Huntington Beach, Sheep's Hills, dude. I watched Dreadhead Todd Lyons back in the day.
So he grew up in Ohio, and he was a BMX racer at heart from the early days. So he really knows what SE was, and he really keeps those roots cool.
Right? Yeah,
the SE thing cool. So it is a big company that owns it now, but he's just he really keeps the core, that brand core.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, just going back, I just didn't know what if you knew anything about the BMX thing, how your dad got involved. Did he license it? Did you know anything about? Because if you didn't know anything about it, it'd be really cool for people
I know. Well, I'm learning a lot from you, but yeah, I mean, I've seen photos of like him like driving it like a van that was like the race van. And he had like all the bicycles like on top of this old van, and so he definitely was involved. I don't know the ins and outs.
Okay,
I got to get on that.
Yeah, because it's really a piece of your history, and you don't do it anymore. But again, me growing up as a BMX guy, like that was one of the bikes, like because I grew up in Florida, and like that was the bike. Like, and again, like it turned into a very similar bike was the Race Inc. And it was very similar to the FMF, and they all broke too. But it was one of the, like everybody was trying to get stuff lighter, and as it got lighter, it started breaking. Right.
Right.
And so that's the same thing with moto. Right. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you those questions because like every once in a while you'll see an we go to these BMX races and stuff, and you'll see an iconic FMF rolling up, and it's like, dude, it's like almost like the holy grail because they don't exist.
No, they don't. No,
you know,
and they were only made for a handful of years too, and then it was done, and then my dad was back to strictly just moto and building stuff. So yeah, I mean it's
when we do the next podcast,
I know. I need to come back with some history. I need a better timeline.
Yeah. If you're writing that book,
I do.
There's a BMX chapter.
There definitely has to be a BMX chapter for sure.
So around maybe mid 2000s, you guys, there was some FMF like a licensing thing with BMX bikes. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So we licensed the name. Someone came to us and said, I want to, I remember the FMF Iconic, BMX stuff from back in the day. And we did it for about 5 years, and licensing things are always so hard, right? Because you don't really have control of the brand as much as you'd like to. And anytime I've kind of done some licensing things, it was very important that like I had control of more of the marketing aspect. You guys can be in charge of like the sales and that, but it's very important for me now, like kind of having to go through a couple of these deals, knowing that, okay, don't just license your name out because you don't know what they're going to do with your name, right? So
that's your image, like, that's your brand.
Yeah, and so I've got a bad taste in my mouth about licensing. That's a story for another day, but
the next pod.
The next pod. Like, don't do an energy drink. Don't try to do goggles. That's not.
I was going to ask you about the energy drink.
That was probably the most stressful time of my life.
How did that? So now that you,
I know.
Like, let's talk about it. How did it?
Yeah.
What year was it? 08 or something?
Yeah, it was like 08. A guy that was really successful in the drink industry.
Monster's just starting to blow up.
Monster's definitely blown up. Obviously Red Bull, Rockstar, but he came to us because he's looking at, okay, how did Monster start? How did Rockstar start? They started in the motocross industry. He's
what could go wrong?
He's trying to like learn about what is this motocross? He's watching Supercross. He's seeing this bright red and yellow logo on tough blocks and banners everywhere, and he's like, well, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and come up with a name that no one knows, and why not try to partner with someone that's already, well seen in that space. And so the guy came to my dad. He started NOS energy drink and sold it to Pepsi for tons of money and had like a non-compete for a while. And then when his non-compete was up, he came to us.
I got an idea.
and I will say that I was fully against it from the get-go. And why it was so stressful for me is because I was on the front line of working with all the events and series that we sponsor. And I was also, the go-to.
You're a competitor.
I'm the one that deals with all the race team sponsorship, and I'm the one that had a partnership with Toyota trucks at the time, and everyone's coming to me and being like, what are you guys doing? Like, and so slowly but surely, FMF logos start coming off of bikes. And it was actually pretty funny because at the time we were sponsoring for the 1 year, we sponsored Factory Kawasaki. And that was just crazy to me that Factory Cowie.
This was the Mike Fisher.
Yeah, they left pro circuit for a year and came to us and really loved working with us, and we're really, really happy with the performance and stuff. But that same year, it was either 1 year or 2 years, but that same year, they had to remove the sticker from the muffler because it had FMF, their title sponsor is Monster, right?
Did that, going back to that, did that thing start because of Villapoto's
I think so.
Plugging up in that.
Yeah. So, Mitch used to have that like real crayon, like looking in cap. And the one time Villapoto cartwheeled, it plugged the muffler and he couldn't get the thing started and they DNF'd. And they were, I think, obviously Mitch would know more, but from what I remember at Cowie is that they were asking Mitch for, a couple years, like, can we come up with something different? And, it's not easy just to retool an end cap, and so that was one of the reasons. And then when we got our kind of first crack at letting them try something, they're like, whoa, this works really good, kind of right out of the bat. And so, yeah, I mean, I literally couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute, we're going to be on Factory Kawasaki. This is insane.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. So they peeled the sticker off the bike and they felt horrible, but I was like, no, I get it. I understand. And so we ran with it and we started calling it the Naked Truth. So we were,
awesome.
we would run ads and this is before like social media and stuff, but we'd run ads and it would be the Naked Truth, right? Like we still know what it is. It's blue. So it's FMF, right? Yeah. And then, one time Mitch hated me for this, but, they have at the Kawasaki track that is, very famous because it's right off the 15 freeway.
Oh, the billboard.
They had whoever owned the property gave rights to let a billboard company come in there and put a billboard up. And it was a massive billboard on the side of the 15.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
That gets, 100,000 people by it every day. And so I saw that it was available. And I was like, we're going to run an ad there. And so
That's brilliant.
So we had an FMF exhaust, and it was like we even like went bigger than just the space of the billboard. Like it was one of the ones that like came off. Like so our muffler was kind of coming off the top of the rectangle of the billboard. So it was just massive. And everyone at Cowie was telling us, dude, like Mitch is pissed. Like he's calling, telling us to take it down. We're telling him we don't own the billboard. Like there's nothing we can do. And we left it up for like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months. And it was like right before Anaheim won. So like everyone's driving by.
I mean, here in SoCal too, there's so many people that go up and down the 15 that ride dirt bikes.
And I still, to this day, have so many people that like come up to me like, dude, remember when you did that? And I was like, yeah, it was pretty fun. Like, you know, I'm sorry to piss Mitch off, but it was, you know, it's one of those like fun guerrilla marketing. You're like, okay, like, let's go. Let's do that, you know? So every once in a while you get those fun ideas and kind of run with it. And, you know, I didn't want to piss anyone off, but it was too good not to.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you gotta do that, right?
It's guerrilla marketing. Yeah, it's finest. But so don't get into the energy drink business. I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah.
So how did that thing? So just to put a cap on it, like how did it end? Like what? You're like, hey man, this is way too. We're fighting.
Yeah, we did it. We did it for a solid like 2.5 years. And
was there good distribution on it? Like was
we
had
really good distribution on it. I mean, nothing compared to the big three, but I mean it was getting out there. But it's just a whole nother side of the business, and like the time that I was trying to spend to like even though I didn't like it, I had to help market it. You know what I mean? I had to try to go, okay, well, if we can't be on X, Y, and Z because we've been removed, like I've got to go get like athletes that are going to be in an FMF helmet. So like I had, Mike Brown or Kyle Redmond and like guys that were just decked out in full FMF lids because I'm like, man, I'm losing all these other assets. Like I got to go. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in a way it was obviously a good lesson. I can blame my dad for that one, but he always says like once you kind of start getting out of, you said earlier, like your lane, like it's just too hard to manage it all, and like, so let's stick with what we do best. We have a great brand. Like we focus on exhaust. We have an apparel division just because we want fans of FMF, just like you guys with Yoshimura, to be able to walk around the races with hats and t-shirts on. Mm-hmm. So, kind of stay in your lane every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, dude, it sounds like it's foundational 101 stuff, but like it's one of the things I learned in my career, and I'm super thankful at Yoshimura because I think we're all on the same page with management, us, and that we do what we do the best we can do. It's like almost like I use it In-N-Out, right? In-N-Out Burger. It's like they make hamburgers and they make the sickest, best hamburgers, and you don't go there for chicken, you don't go for burritos, and the line's freaking always long because
it's gonna be
there's
quality.
Integrity, there's quality, right? And so it's a great
reference for sure.
Yeah, and again, we've had a lot of opportunity to like, you guys should make 2-stroke pipes. You should do it. You should do it. And I'm like, that's not what we do. Pop was always into 4-stroke stuff. He was always adamant. Even 2-strokes came in, they came out like in road racing and stuff. And it's like, we do 4-stroke. That's what we do. Because they learned how to work on 4-strokes in World War II on the airplanes. Like that's what he did. And I super respect that because we've had, like I said, we've had so many opportunities. Like, oh, you guys, you would kill it. Make a 2-stroke pipe. I'm like, we don't have jet settings. We don't have this and that. It's not what we do.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that the management here is like, we don't want to do that. That's not what we do, right?
Well, and you guys came in, like when you guys obviously were so focused on, 4-stroke and road racing and stuff. So you guys had so much experience working with 4-stroke exhausts where the rest of us were playing catch up, right? Because, we were, obviously, everything was 2-stroke, and then it flipped so quick, And before that, we were making XR650, the older kind of off-roady type stuff, but nothing that was like race inspired. And then all of a sudden, the YZ250, 426, and that came out, and then it switched so quick. So we were playing catch up, trying to like, okay, well, we need to learn how to, bend this type of tubing now and titanium and form these end caps and all the stuff that we do now. And that didn't just happen overnight. Like it took a long time to get all the equipment, making a 2-stroke pipe is a lot easier, But I would say the development of a good running two-stroke takes longer than a four-stroke. Now, four-strokes are getting a little bit more difficult because of, sound regulations and things like that. But
we're going to talk about sound.
making a good running two-stroke pipe was more difficult, but then producing it's a lot easier, right? Less pieces. I mean, there's so many pieces that go into a four-stroke. Yeah. So, well, I appreciate you guys not going into two-strokes.
Yeah, no, but honestly, again, that's just a tip of the hat. Of just you guys stay in your lane, we stay in ours, and it wasn't even a verbal thing, but it's almost I think again within our sandboxes, we know kind of what we're good at, and we stay there, and I think it's a respect thing too. It's dude, we have no business making two-stroke pipes. Why would we do that? It's an opportunity to make money. That's not the reason to do it.
Yeah.
Just because we can make money, that's not the reason to do it. We don't have expertise there. And sure, we could gain it, but it's so much work. It's dude, FMF and Pro Circuit are already doing that.
Yeah.
And they do a great job at doing that. That's not our space,
Yeah, you guys were definitely, like I said, you came in and you guys already had so much knowledge about four strokes. We were the ones playing catch up.
I think the big thing for us was and I wasn't here at the time, but I feel now knowing what I know, we did know how to make a four-stroke pipe and make it run really well. What we didn't have is the durability. But that's something we had to learn because, we were just hanging stuff on muffler bands, and it's
road race is a lot different than motocross, right? These things
they want the exhaust pipes to flex around a lot, right?
They get so much more abuse than a road race, exhaust. So, I mean, it's just
the forces on it. There was a lot of things that we had to learn. Like I said, we knew how to make a pipe run really well. But we needed to learn the durability, and that's in 06 when the Honda opportunity came. That's when we jumped on it, and we were making some stuff for the Suzuki team too. But yeah, that's pretty crazy how that happened. We always say, hey, we didn't. Well, I wasn't here at the time, but we didn't go to the dirt. The dirt came to us, and it's because we kind of everybody in the industry was coming to us, going, "You make four-stroke pipes,
right?"
Well, and White Brothers was doing the Honda team at the time, and that stuff was not very good. And then we kind of just lucked into it, and
well, it was a good thing you guys did, because I feel unfortunately in the U.S. The road racing series took a dive for a while. Now it's kind of back in healthy again, and just street bikes in general, it just kind of goes through this cyclical wave of what is the cool thing to ride on the street right now. Is it a GSX-R 1000? Maybe, I don't know, but you guys know more about that. But it was a smart move for you guys to get into dirt, because it just opens up your capabilities to build for a lot more motorcycles.
Yeah.
So, and you got Hurlings starting to race this weekend, and Geyser, or no, you had Geyser. Now you got Hurlings. That's pretty cool. You guys got Jeffrey Hurlings and Tom Vial over there and racing MXGP. So I've got Kaito Wolf. We'll see what the guys do this weekend.
I'm excited for the MXGP. Honestly, it's almost like Anaheim 1. You're what is going to? All these guys are changing teams. They're in different.
This year was crazy. I think it was the biggest year for changes, I don't know, that I can remember.
And with Geyser and Hurlings, they couldn't touch the bike until January 1.
Yeah.
It's it's crazy.
We had that team before you guys did. I lost it to you guys, but whatever. We're
okay. We'll put up the boxing glove. But it's pretty crazy with the Honda thing. For us, is weird because they stopped making two strokes. We'd never made two stroke stuff. It's and so you guys talk to a consumer when they're early or young, right? And we don't get to talk to them till they're on a 250. And it's so. And it's weird how the Honda thing evolved into that, and it's it's the same thing that we do.
Yep. They don't make two strokes. You guys don't make two stroke stuff. Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know what it is with Honda. There's some anti two stroke thing there or something.
I know. I wish more companies would come back out with them, because I think it's a great motorcycle.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about sound.
Ooh, that's a touchy subject right now.
It's very touchy feely.
Yeah, so I mean, for a lot of people that don't know, over the last couple of years, the sound is going down, and when we say sound, at the professional level, the AMA or the FIM in Europe is testing everyone that's going racing. So, Friday before Anaheim 1, everyone has to go through a sound test. whether you're a privateer, factory team, and that happens at every round of MXGPs and here with the AMA, and it's getting tougher. So in Europe, they announced that they're going to, in 2025, they went down to what they call a 109 dB. You get a +1 for the meter maybe not being calibrated correctly, and then you get a +1 for muffler degradation, I would call it, right? So technically you got to be under 111 at the beginning or the end of the race, right? So in motocross, or here in the US, or MXGP over in Europe, these guys are doing 30+2 motos, and that puts a lot of stress on the overall packing. So it's a lot of extra work for companies that are exhaust companies to meet this sound level. In the US, they were supposed to introduce the 109 in 2026. They came to an agreement, which I think we all could agree upon, that the bikes that come as stock that you buy from a dealership aren't 109. So why should it be up to the exhaust manufacturers to try to fix that problem for them?
Yeah.
So they were able to push it to 2027, where all the OEMs are supposed to have a stock bike that a consumer can buy that would meet that 109 sound. So that's kind of where we're at, right? It's not just trying to make performance anymore. It's trying to make performance, but also make sure you pass sound. Now, I think where I have problems with it is why are we jumping through all these hoops, cost you guys a lot of R&D money and time. It costs us, when all they're going after is the professional motocross or supercross, which is, call it maybe 80 guys a weekend. So, and, in supercross, and, the next weekend they have monster trucks in there where you can't even hear yourself talk. So
that's why I wanted to bring this up.
Yeah.
Because I think we know enough to be dangerous, right? But there's a lot of people that are probably going to tune into this and go, oh, here's two exhaust companies. They're talking about sound. And they think they're like, that's the biggest thing I see online is like, why the heck are we doing sound? There's a monster truck thing. Or, last weekend at Daytona, they're like, dude, seriously? Like last weekend, there was 20 cars going around this thing and nobody could hear themselves talk, right? Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
But let's go back, and I don't know how much you know about beginning of sound, but I remember, and I was talking to Tim, our guy that was here, back when sound stuff started first getting introduced, like in mid 2000s. There was a 94 dB that was initiated, and I think a lot of this stuff started coming from Europe because FIM was having sound issues. Having tracks closing down because there was a lot of sound coming from the dirt bikes, right? And there's a standard called J1287. I'm looking at my notes here. Around 0809, there was a 94 dB, and then
but that test was different than
it wasn't a 2 meter max test yet, which is another thing.
So right? I think that's what's important for people to know. Like 94 sounds really quiet compared to what we're talking about 109, but completely different style of testing. Now, what we're testing now is that what they call the 2 meter sound. It's where the sound meter's back 2 meters at about a 45-degree angle, and the guy that's sound testing opens up the throttle wide open until it's bouncing off the rev limiter for, call it a second, 2 seconds. So that is very much louder than the way that they used to do the 94 dB test. I just want to get that.
For sure. And I just want to, I think, again, I want to maybe clear up some misconceptions of like, there's a lot of people that don't know why this is happening. Why are people going through sound and not passing, losing points, those type of things, right?
Or taking their fast lap times away, like it happened to Deegan at, I think, Anaheim 2.
It happened to one of our privateers at Daytona. He had a fast lap and they took it away and he didn't qualify for the night show. Luke Neese, Unicross guy.
And it cost how much for Luke to get to Daytona to go race, and the fees he has to pay to sign up to be a privateer, and so that's when you hear about it. It's just, that's a bummer, but
I think just going back, I think this whole thing was initiated back with the FIM in Europe, and somebody came up with this 2 meter max thing, right? And it's like, going back to the noise that's coming from a motorcycle, back when this stuff was starting to happen, I have a note here that we were testing, this is back in 2011, we were testing a Cowie, and that thing off the showroom floor was blowing 118.
Yeah.
Dude, this is
way too loud.
And this is when they were actually doing a lot. And
Yeah.
it was like a 114.9 or something was the limit. I'm like, you can't go race this thing at a Supercross. And we're like, okay, so we built an exhaust system. We're like, it's not getting any quieter. What the heck? One of our guys in R&D throws a moving blanket over the bike.
Yeah.
And now it's blowing 110.
Yeah. And
why
is that though?
And it so come to find out, and a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of the noise that this motorcycle is making is coming from the plastic, the airbox,
engine,
the clutch, the valves. There's a lot of things that
adding
noise,
to
right?
the sound. And we've talked about it, and in the rule book, it's a sound test, not an exhaust test. So my big thing with the AMA, and I've talked to them multiple times, and I think they're definitely receptive and they're listening, is if we're gonna call it a sound test, we need to isolate
it almost because a noise test,
or just change the rule and call it an exhaust test. Let's call it what it is, because we're the ones that get blamed when the guy doesn't pass sound. The guys coming to us being like, dude, my bike won't pass sound, like it's our fault, right? We're the exhaust company, but that's not really the big person that's at fault here. There's so many other factors. Also, I can agree, and we can, 118 is way too loud.
Yeah.
Like, bikes have gotten so much quieter, but you're also not riding, and people aren't listening in the stadium to a bike wide open on the rev limiter for minutes on end.
Yeah, unless the guy hits a panic rev or something.
On the throttle, off the throttle, on the throttle, off the throttle, and so, I think it's good that the manufacturers are making their bikes quieter. It's from an exhaust manufacturer standpoint, it's these extra costs now that are going to go into producing. I mean, look at the new, things that like KTM has on their their headers and stuff. And now these headers are getting so big, and I don't want that to end up getting to the consumer where they have to spend X amount more money now because it's costing FMF, Yosh, Pro Circuit to do so much more internally inside the mufflers, making bigger headers, more chambers, all this stuff to get the sound down when the average guy doesn't get sound tested anywhere, right?
Anywhere.
So,
right? And I think, we talked about it too before this pod, but like, I feel our issues in the U.S. aren't sound issues. The tracks aren't closing down because of sound. The tracks are closing because of insurance and legality 100%. Things, right?
Yep.
And so, what's happening in Europe and why, whoever developed this 2 meter max test and like, it's like our issues in the U.S. are different than Europe. And it feels like we're being kind of conformed into a European way of doing things, and not to take it. I mean, they have their own issues of doing stuff, but we have our own concerns over here, right?
Don't bring your issues here. Right. Like you said, I mean, you nailed it. You'll hear about the private track every once in a while having to go to court or getting closed down because their neighbors, at their private track.
We have so much land here. You just go down the street or down 10 miles,
I'm talking about talking about a guy ripping around his backyard at his house. His neighbor might complain, but our motocross tracks and our issue, not one motocross track has closed down in California because of sound. It's the operational costs, the insurance costs is skyrocketed to where these guys just can't afford it anymore. So I don't know. I just I may or may have not have written a letter to the AMA just to let them know from the exhaust side of things, like how we feel from an exhaust, just so they can. I feel they should be working with us a little closer, because at the end of the day, like I said, if you're going to call it a sound test, make it a sound test. But if it's you should probably call it an exhaust test, because at the point right now, you, me, Pro Circuit, we're the ones that are always getting the blame of not making something quiet enough. So it'll be interesting. I think, like I said, when the OEs all come out with bikes that are the 109 capability, and we'll see what happens. But I do fear for the end consumer. Yes, you guys, we can take care of the factory teams. We can make sure these guys are getting through sound. I can help privateers as much as possible, but I can't charge the end consumer that much more because now this thing is so mechanical that these things are costing, $2,000 plus for an exhaust. It just doesn't make sense.
When a lot of times, like we said, like, dude, a lot of the noise, I mean, could even be coming from the frame. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of residual noise coming from the bike, plastic, airbox, those things. Like, is anybody consulting an airbox company? Is like, anybody, like those things, like why, like we've talked in the past, like why are we, like the muffler's not making any noise. Yeah. It's right? Yep. So it's a really,
it's a good topic. It's a touchy one, as you know. But we'll see. I want to work with whoever wants to work with us to make this, and I think that's where the synergy of we're competitors, but at the same time, like these are things that we can talk about because it ends up affecting all of us as an aftermarket company. So why not have an open conversation with you and me, even though we're competitors. Obviously, you're having me on this podcast. It's amazing. And we've been, I want to say, friends over the years. So it is a touchy subject, but I think one that we'll all get through together.
Yeah. And then even from the racing aspect, not from the OE side so much, but even from the racing aspect, from like MX Sports and everything that they have to go through, whether it's hair scrambles or Loretta's, like there is a sound test coming down to the amateur level, and it's like,
it's going to be in the rule book in 27. Actually, for amateurs, 28.
How are we supposed to test 2,300 bikes at Loretta Lynn's in the middle of a field in a private land? It's like
I don't see it happening. But maybe it'll be at random or whatnot. But it's still, I mean, what are you going to do? Tell this kid he just qualified twice just to get to Loretta's, and his family just drove from California. They've spent $20,000 to come to this race and stay there for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, sorry, your bike didn't pass sound. We're going to have to dock you, or go over and see FMF and see what they can do to help you out. It's like,
if you could maybe fast forward, because I don't want to make the whole thing. It's a big issue for both of our companies and for the guys racing. Everybody technically involved with the race teams is like a big thing is passing sound both before and after the race, right? But if you could maybe, I don't know, fast forward 4 years, 5 years from now, like what would you like to see? What would you like from FMF standpoint? What would you like to see?
No electric bikes.
Oh, that was one of my questions. You jumped to chapter, bro.
No. I mean, I was gonna real quick touch base, like when Mitch made, just to show that he made this exhaust. It was probably like 3 feet long. He said, he's like, I will make you the longest exhaust to show you that this much more length doesn't matter. And it literally didn't get any quieter. So it's like one of those things. It's like, okay, well, let's take a step back and realize that it's not the exhaust, right? Yeah. But if I could flash forward, and are we asking where the sport's going to be, or where?
I think Justin's we can talk about the electric thing in a little bit, but just like what you would like to see as far as exhaust, as it applies to racing and what's happening with the sound right now. If you could throw a magic wand and like, hey, I think this is a great compromise that we could be at.
I mean, I said it in my letter, but I think where we're at right now,
may or may not written,
strongly worded letter. No, I think where we're at right now is great. I think what we consider is you have to pass, under 114. A lot of our race teams are at like 111, 112 when they're going through. No problem. So people don't understand how drastic by just going down 1 dB, what that means. And now you went from 112 to 109. It's not just 3 dBs. That's huge. So I feel like where we're at right now is good. It's maintainable. We're all racing at a healthy level there. It's not, I also think it gets to a point where are these bikes, you're trying to do so much to the bike to make up for that power that you might lose with that sound, that it could be dangerous, right? Like it could be
on a 450, maybe not so much, right?
450, not so much, but when you're leaning on a 250 so much to get through like Supercross and the jumps and all the stuff that they're doing, I don't know. Maybe it's also a good thing. Maybe it'll slow these guys down a little bit. I don't know. Like the answer, but I don't want it to become a safety concern for these guys where they're doing so much on the back end with like ECU stuff and, messing with, motors. And so I think we're at a good level right now.
Cool.
Stamp it.
Stamp it right there. There it is. Speaking of Mitch, how well do you get along with him? At one time, did you make product for him? Like you guys obviously are really kind of playing the two-stroke land, but how well do you get along with Mitch? Does your dad hang out with him? What's the relationship there? I always wondered.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely don't like hang out, but, for the longest time, I would kind of I never talked to Mitch. And then one day I was just walking by and he's like, "Hey, Lil D, come over here." And I was like, "Oh, he knows who I am, And he's like, "How's your dad?" And I was like, "Oh, he's doing really well." He's like, "Oh, good. Tell him I said hi." And I was like, "Dude, that is so rad." For the longest time, like I've just heard like, Mitch can be kind of not mean, but like a little bit like, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was always like a little bit scared of him. I'd walk by and so I thought that was like super cool to like that he didn't even talk about business or anything like that. He's just like, "How's your dad doing?" They've known each other throughout the years. I mean, they don't hang out or anything like that, but they respect each other. So I thought that was really cool. And then like ever since then, like every time I see Mitch, I always go out of my way to say hi. Like I'll stop by and I'll walk right in his pits. And if I see him, I'll walk in there and be like, "Hey man, what's going on? Hey, what's going on?"
That's
so
cool.
No, super cool. And, yeah, we had a really good talk, like, not to get back on the sound thing, but he and I had a really good talk, and I think it was really productive. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool that I can come to a place like Yoshimura and you guys will welcome me, and I could call Mitch and talk to him about whether it's business or whatever, like super cool.
But isn't that the way it should be?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason we're all like being successful in a sport we love. What am I going to hate? There's no room for that, right?
No, yeah, totally.
So yeah, it's but for the longest time I was kind of scared of Mitch. I was like, but I also was like more of a kid. Like now I'm like, I feel like I have more confidence now and I can walk around and I guess I'm an adult. So
yeah, you're like, "Hey, I earned a little bit of walking in your pit."
I could walk in and say
I did start an injury. No, my dad did that. Never mind.
I did put up that billboard in your Supercross shack, but I apologize about that.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't. It was really good.
That was pretty stinking cool. So I have a question here, and this might throw you off guard a little bit. So I have so many questions for you. Like, do you have questions for us? Like, I want it to kind of be a two-way street too.
No, I mean, I think I've as we've been talking, it's like I've been able to, ask you guys some questions, and I think obviously everything that you guys are doing and like what you've been able to personally do in the sport, from BMX background to when I first met you working at Transworld, and then Answer. Like I remember like you working like super close with like Ernie and so
Dungy.
And Dunge, and it's super cool. So no, it's just, I mean, it's great to see like where you've ended up, and the fun that you're having, and be able to help out this brand, and so congratulations.
Right. Well, cool. That was easy. I thought you were gonna throw some like hard balls or something.
No.
Do you need to take a break, take some water?
No, good.
Okay, all right. So you have two kids, Ethan and Claire?
Ethan and Claire, yep. I've got a boy and a girl, and we're good. I got one of each, and my wife wanted a third, and I was like, whoa, we got one of each. Let's just calm down. Ethan's 10 now. Loves baseball. Loves motocross and stuff, but really is taking a liking to baseball, which I'm really enjoying, because before that I was never like really a stick and ball kind of guy. I grew up playing soccer, and but I've never really been like excited to go watch stick and ball sports, and he makes it a lot of fun. And then I've got the girly girl Claire, who's putting makeup on every night and wants to put makeup on me, and she's a little dancer, but then she'll also get on a dirt bike and go have fun.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so family life's good. I think it's I'm blessed.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, you're talking about going to the baseball thing and stuff. Is there maybe the kids are kind of pulling you in that direction, but like what do you do to get away from the sport? So like you can't, like we were talking about earlier, our wives like, hey, turn that off.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do to like unplug? Because I know that I know just from watching your social, like you love being a dad and a father and a husband, and like, what do you do to like, hey, I need to just turn the dirt bike thing off for a little bit.
Totally. Yeah, I think I just have to have, I've got a lot of friends that I hang out with that have no idea about motocross, right?
That's cool.
So it kind of makes it easy just to kind of like check out for a little bit. But I can see how, like, going back to like sports or even like motocross, like I always like look at, I'm like, man, how do these people get so like tractor beamed right in? Like all of a sudden, like little Johnny's like, oh, he's showing some speed locally. Like he's in the novice class, and now he's intermediate, and we're all in. Coaches, new motorhomes, motorcycles, and I'm like, dude, how does that happen so quick and easily? And then I'm here in this simple side of like baseball, where it's, you don't need a lot to go play baseball. Like you don't need multiple bikes, engines, all this kind of stuff that you do. And motocross is a very expensive sport if you're going to play in it at that level. But just at that little baseball level, as soon as my kids started like showing some sign of like getting pretty good, I was like, oh, we're gonna need a hitting coach. I'm gonna need and then
all of a sudden it's not that inexpensive anymore.
He needs to run faster. We need to get like a strength and conditioning. Like I need someone to teach him how to run. Oh, that new bat's out. Like I got to get that new bat. Like I'm like, oh my God, that's how it happens. Tractor beam sucked me right in, and I'm like, then I look back, I'm like, well, I'm still glad it's not as expensive as motocross.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask you about like FMF goggles, sunglasses.
Oh.
And then the energy drink was in there.
Yeah.
And just like what do you see like branching off with your brand? Like what do you think works better? I mean, obviously we do the exhaust thing, but for you, like in different avenues, whether it might be the apparel or whatever, like what do you think works better? Like what have you seen success in?
Well, it's funny because you can like look at FMF, and I feel like we have a very strong, like iconic brand. So like at some points you're like, well, I could put my logo on some Windex and hopefully it would probably sell. But you got to like, that mentality I think is completely wrong. And I've learned my lessons even over the years, like, with the energy drink and even the goggle thing. Like to me, like at first the goggle thing was a good idea because I'm like, man, we have so many guys that are up on the podium, and I'm always jealous of the goggle guys, right? Because they're like strap and
every time, right?
Yeah, like, and you and me were like, hey man, don't forget us. We're over here.
The bike fast.
Yeah, like it's one of the reasons why you actually won. Like, and so I'm always jealous of those type of guys, or like the personal sponsors, right? That they think, and so. You put so much work in, whether it's, Yosh or FMF, you put so much work in for these teams and these guys, and sometimes they forget, and I understand they're not going to sit there and be robots and rattle off, 100 different sponsors on the podium. But so, I mean, with the goggle thing, when it came to us, it was, I thought, well, man, it'd be nice to have some of those guys with FMF on there. But it just goes to show that like, not everything, you shouldn't do everything, right? Like
just because you can't.
Yeah, just because your logo's strong and everyone knows it doesn't mean it's going to sell. You know what I mean? And it's so it's just another part of my learning experience of, let's kind of stick to what we do.
Yeah, and I think a lot like the, maybe the energy drink, you're getting into a place where you're competing with other brands that's their sandbox, right?
Yeah, well, and they're not small brands either, right? So they
and they can pull out the checkbook.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, but hey, I will say though, at the end of the day, I think our energy drink tasted better than everyone else's. I'm just going to say that right now, and I've had multiple people tell me that. So that's my claim to fame.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They did a good job
with
that.
Where was it made?
Well, I don't know. Where some bottling.
I don't know. I just
plant.
like contracts flying around the office.
Yeah.
I already asked you that question. Okay, so right now, what bikes are in your garage?
I've got obviously we work very closely with Yamaha and the KTM group. So my personal bikes are FC 450 Husqvarna for my motorbike, and then an FE 501 for my off-road bike. And then my son has a Yamaha 65, and my daughter has a PW50.
Oh, nice.
So,
I didn't hear any electric motorcycles in there.
Nope. I mean, the kids have Stay-Six. You got to have those because, you know, you can rip those around the neighborhood. They're great for teaching kids how to ride and eventually get on a dirt bike, which it's such a great concept. And funny story is Ryan Raglan, who started Stay-Sick, he first came down to FMF. He's like, man, I got something to show you. And I'm like, he's like, can me and my kids come down there? His kids were like 3 and 5 at the time. And I'm like, yeah. So he came down to FMF one day and he rolled out what looked to be like a Strider with a DeWalt battery in it. He's like, check this thing out. And his kid got on it and just started like ripping around FMF parking lot. And I was like, dude, that's insane. He goes, yeah. So this is kind of like where I want to take this. I'm going to want to create a brand. And I was fortunate to get to help Ryan, cause he just asked me for advice and help with marketing and stuff like that. So I was able to help him from day one of Stay-Sick launching to about 2 years in. I was able to help him kind of establish the brand and get it going, and then they ended up selling it to Harley. So it was a pretty cool story just to kind of see start to finish of someone that just had like an idea and brought that to the forefront of motorcycle dealerships and getting kids on, you know, ultimately on motorcycles because they're learning how to balance, twist the throttle, and then boom, go, oh, you know, now he needs the next thing up, which is a dirt bike. Yeah. So total offshoot there, but I have a love-hate with electric, right? Like,
same.
Yeah, I mean,
Same.
it's my livelihood is to have combustion engines in motorcycles, but I do see a place and a lane for electric e-bikes, you know. So yeah. I just think I walked around the AIM show just like you did, and which is a big dealer show that you know, Yoshimura, FMF, all the brands go there to show off product. That whole show basically was to me an e-bike show. I mean, it was like
crazy.
Everything looked the same. Just slap a different name on it because you can get all the same stuff from the same goggle manufacturer. You know what I mean? Everything comes from the same, and there's no real. I mean, yes, there's development and stuff like that, but it's. I don't know.
I can't tell you how many Instagram reels I've seen with front end snapping off of electric.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of R&D time into these things, right? It's like just make this Sur-Ron type looking bike and slap an engine in it that goes, or battery that goes way too fast for these kids, and see what happens to them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's crazy. Like for me, I really feel like there needs some kind of. And it's crazy from a e-mountain bike that's pedal assist into a throttle assist into a dirt bike. You know, you've got the dust bike that's kind of a medium, and then you get into a Stark, and then you've got Sur-Rons in there or whatever you want to call it Sur-Ron. You've got this crazy, weird gray area, right? And it's like, you know, just from my aspect, it's like it's crazy to think like, you know, where's this thing going, and how is a internal combustion engine going to play in this field that that's coming with all this electric stuff? And then there's an appeal to like, oh, there's no noise, but you know, obviously in our neck of the woods, it's like, you know, I've come to see that if it ain't noise, it's the dust. Hey, you guys are making too much dust. Shut that down. Like, you know,
well, and I mean, I just feel like they're also dangerous because you can't be riding with other people that can't hear you coming. Like we don't even know you're so much of a riding a dirt bike.
And that's happening right now at dirt bike tracks. Like there's a lot of accidents because, oh dude, I didn't
even know you were there in the air with me. Like when you're riding a dirt bike and you're obviously twisting a throttle, like everything is sound to you, whether you're hitting a jump or there's a guy on your right, you're so able to be aware of where the person is. I mean, look at these guys. They're racing. They're not looking backwards the whole time. They know exactly where the guy's going to be trying to come up on the outside. And, you know, our friend Don Mid, I remember him, like when Stark first gave him a bike to go test, he raced, I think like a race at Glen Helen, and he's literally like yelling at people like, coming up on your right. Like
they can't hear him.
They can't hear him. Yeah. You know, so, I mean, there's a safety. I think there's definitely a space for them, but I mean, just like we saw in like during COVID, it's like everyone was going out and getting e-bikes to cruise around. I live at the beach, so everyone's riding, you know, e-bikes on the bike path. They're going way too fast.
Nobody's pedaling them.
Sur-Rons, luckily, in like my neighbor or my city, they got banned unless you have a motorcycle license because they don't have pedals on them.
And I think that's a good thing, right?
Like these kids were going these kids were going 60 down the road, like just with a little bucket helmet on, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's, at least when you ride dirt bikes, you have to have a lot of skill set, right? Like you're learning so many things at one time. That's why I tell people, I'm like, you got to imagine, like when you ride a dirt bike, you're twisting a throttle, you've got two brakes that you're operating, you got a shifter, a clutch, like and you just have to be aware. You have to be like this because you can't be, I'm gonna drive like this, right? Like you have to be. So I mean, learning how to ride a motorcycle is so important just for like learning how to drive. Like, having that skill set of riding a motorcycle is going to help you drive a car.
I think it even could apply to life.
Yeah.
Like it's how you navigate traffic on a motocross track, or if you're in off-road on a trail, like weaving through trees.
Life isn't just like this,
100%, dude.
Life is going all these different directions, and you got to be able to figure out, okay, which way do I need to go?
Yeah.
Which way is my navigation taking me? So,
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's a time or a place for them, but hopefully not in our space, right?
Yeah.
So.
And again, it's the same thing. Like you said, it's a love-hate thing. For me, I feel like it is a love-hate thing because like it seems like I'm not opposed to technology at all, but when it's like, if you're going to race an electric bike, it should race other electric bikes, right?
100%.
It shouldn't be it's not fair to put them into the same.
It's a safety thing too.
This thing's got 80 horsepower.
Yeah.
This 450 has 60 or 58 or whatever it is.
But it's a different 80 horsepower because this one has a lot of torque, and this one, it's like, but it's still not. It's not fair. And I think we're seeing that where they're not really allowed to race in anything.
Thankfully the FIM's doing something good there. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that they're not having Stark races or e-bike races or whatever you want to call them. It's that they're keeping them separate from the
make it its own series.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But WSX lets them race, don't they? Yeah, that's crazy for me.
And Super Enduro in Europe for like the hard or the indoor hard enduro cross, it lets them ride as well. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny. Yusaku's dad, Fujio, he said something maybe 5 years ago, and it just clicked with me. It's like, he said, there's an Apple Watch and there's a Rolex.
Yeah.
And they coexist.
That's a great point.
And I'm like, I'm going to use that on a podcast one day.
There you go.
With awesome. Lil D, FMF. But where do you see the electric thing going? Is if we just stay on that for a second.
Where I was kind of going with that is like during COVID, there were so many different e-bike companies popping up. There's a dime a dozen for the beach cruiser type of bikes, and now so many of them gone out of business. It just gets too saturated. One of the reasons I feel like our sport does so well is it's not oversaturated. It's like making an exhaust pipe, right? There's not a lot of people that can do it and do it well. So, it takes a ton of R&D time and stuff like that to have. And I'm glad, a Ducati or Triumph saw our space as being something that's viable to come into. It just shows you that the e-bike stuff for them doesn't really make sense in this space. So they came in with combustion engines. So that's kind of like gives me like a breath of hope of like, this isn't going to happen, anytime soon when you've got guys, new companies coming in to want to make dirt bikes. So it's too easy to be oversaturated in that space. It seems like.
Yeah,
it's like coming out with goggles when there's so many goggle brands. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, better plastic and foam.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about. I want to touch on this because both you, us, and Mitch. We're manufacturing in Southern California. You guys are in LA County. We're in San Bernardino County. There might be some differences there, but we're in a space where we're in a state where they're just going to start taxing us because there's so many electric vehicles running around. They're going to start taxing us on the mileage we drive and taxing us probably on the air that we breathe. And we're making exhaust systems in Southern California in a state that's just. We just saw recently the announcement that Yamaha's leaving the state. They're closing the Cypress campus down. It's like, that's a Southern California institution. Like Yamaha's been, Southern California was motorcycles, was dirt bikes. It was the home of all these OEs. And now that there's a massive OE going, you know what? we're going to Georgia officially.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that writing was on the wall a while ago because they opened up Georgia campus, and then they've kind of just been phasing this one, down. You still have, KTM here, Suzuki, Honda, and Torrance close to us. But yeah, I mean, being in California is really tough. They don't want you to do business here, right? So I mean, they'd rather you be depending on the government and paying a lot of taxes for other people to take advantage of. And
we are on the same page with a lot of things.
So I mean, it's definitely, like you said, it's a love-hate, because we love the weather here, and I think it is truly the most beautiful state, but I think it's being completely ruined. And so let's hope for the future of California to get better. Hopefully people are opening their eyes, because if you're a business owner, it's not easy to do business here. They don't want you to be a capitalist. They want you to depend on.
I don't know what they want.
Yeah,
honestly, how do you expect a place to function when these gigantic businesses leave that pay a ton of tax dollars? Like, where are you going to make that up?
Well, and they can't even run their own budget, right? They blow every
political here.
They blow every. I mean, billions and billions of dollars are missing. So I mean, I can't trust the government for anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of us don't want. Is we don't want that government overreach. We want to stay in. We want to operate our little business. We want to pay taxes, whatever it is, but don't do the overreach and try to put your hand into our company, make it even tougher for us. I mean, don't even get me started on if it rains, I've got to turn a water sample in.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I've got to.
We don't want to start
because it's just.
But I think other people in other states have no idea.
There's so many little things that just drive you nuts. Like, okay, so every time it rains, I have to get a water sample of water that came off my roof, or I have to deal with people living in their motorhomes, for free and leaving their trash, but I got to pay the trash guy to pick up their trash. It's just, there's so many things where you're just like, oh, but then it's like 80 degrees on a Saturday and you're like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah. And I think too, like you're saying, like we love California, and I think everybody, the weather, I ride my mountain bike a ton and I love living in this state. But also I think, same probably thing with you, like we love our employees too. So like that, a lot of people are like, dude, you need to go to Tennessee and start building exhaust there. It's like, yeah, but We've probably got 15 people here out of the 100 that have been here over 30 years, at least approaching 30 years, definitely past. And it's like, these are people that you just don't, hey, let's go to a different state and teach people how to make an exhaust system. Like you said, what we do to make an exhaust system is very, very unique. And we're stamping metal, we're shearing metal, we're laser etching, we're welding, we're making
carbon fiber
parts. Yeah. It's like there's so many aspects, and like you said, it's very vertical, right? And to take and like, hey guys, we're going to move to a different state. Well, I can't come because a lot of people here, they're like, their brothers are working here, or their cousins, or there's family aspect to it. It's like, okay, so then
you're taking care of their families too. I mean, they're taking care of their families, but you by having a great job here and working here for so long, and that taking all that away that's a hard pill to swallow. Or a lot of companies are just like, well, I'm just going to go overseas to have stuff made, right? And we don't want to do that. Like we want to keep it core. We want to keep it here, and if that means me making less product every day and not being able to fully supply the market and the demand that there might be, so be it, right? Like I think people are gonna care more when they get your product or my product, and they're like, man, this was cool. This was made like right here. Hopefully they're saying that, right? They're not just being like, oh, it's an exhaust pipe. It came from overseas somewhere. Put it on. No, I feel like when they worked hard to purchase that, they used their own hard-earned money to go out in there and get that product. And when they bolt it on, you want them to feel something that, a sense of pride that we put into that also. Right. So, I mean, I don't like it, but we're figuring it out. We're every day there's something new, right? We're figuring it out, and we're trying to, continue to be successful, and I think both companies have done a pretty good job so far. So
like for us, like, going back to the employee thing, like if you walk through the hall here and you see in the front, like there's pictures of our employees up on the wall, and it's like, I tell people like, that's Yoshimura. Like
Yeah.
these are the people that pack the boxes, that do the welds, that put the badges on, that assemble this stuff. Like without them, it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Right. And
who are we, right? What's the culture of these brands without the people that are the team that you've established?
To think about leaving, to leaving those people that are Yoshimura, it's like, well, what are we?
Yeah.
Just a label that will teach, it's like, so it's hard for me to like think about like moving, but when people go, oh my gosh, $1,000 or $1,100 for a stainless steel exhaust system, like, how do you guys justify that? I'm like, well, they don't make steel in the U.S. anymore.
Yeah.
Try to find a steel mill.
There's brokers, but there's no steel. Yeah.
So, we have to import our steel from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there's a tariff on it now. And then, we have minimum wage things in California that are just like.
Even besides all that, like if they saw if you walked in the back right now with the camera and you took all the pieces that have to come together to make a 4-stroke muffler and all those.
A good one.
Yeah. And
right.
I mean, that's a lot of different pieces that come together. I mean, when you show someone that, then they kind of start understanding and, oh, that was made here, you know? And, so I think it's a little bit eye-opening. I think that's why I like doing the shop tours and stuff are good because people can able to see, really how it's made, right? Like, I remember I used to love that show. I mean, FMF was on that show at one point.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I used to watch that show and be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I wonder how they made, that thing,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like, in a day and age where like everything is so like get on your phone, hit the Amazon button, and sometimes in 2 hours you can have that thing delivered at your house or wherever you are. I think a lot of people lose that that craftsmanship vibe of like something actually has to be made. This isn't 3D printed, right? Like this is something that's handcrafted. Like I consider like what we do. It's a cobbler.
Yeah,
like those guys are
craftsmanship, man. There's not a lot of that going on anymore. You know what I mean? So, and like you said, everyone's got their phone and everything's so readily at everyone's fingertips. So trying to, disconnect. That's why I love riding dirt bikes. Like when you ride a dirt bike, you have to be so focused on everything else. So you just are able to, or, riding your mountain bike up in the hills or whatever it is. It's like you're able to shut off life.
Well, you have to.
Yeah, you have to, or else you're going to go over the bars.
You're done. Like a lot of the stuff that I ride my mountain bike, people are like, dude, you're crazy. And I'm like, but that's
all I'm thinking about.
I have to.
Yeah.
Like,
but it
I'm not
clears my mind, and that is all I can think about is having to ride, because if not, I'm going over the bars.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like if your tension's divided, you shouldn't be out there.
Right. Right.
Don't even get on the seat,
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, so I think maybe the last question is, when are we doing the Yoshimura FMF drop?
Oh, whoa. That's a great question. I think we'd blow people's minds.
Don't make me paint you in a corner. I just thought it'd be a fun thing to ask. I'm like, that'd be pretty.
I'm stoked that you know about the drop. It's a fun, like, kind of passion little project for me. And it's,
I mean, how do you not know about the drop? It's a lot of your personal social media is doing it, but also like, it's a cool thing to have a subscription thing. I think, like that, I think after the 5 or so years you've been doing it, it's like probably hard to come up with that next thing.
Yeah.
Right?
So it is every month, and it is I have to get ahead of it. But the best part about doing the drop, and there's a lot of different subscription programs out there. What I love about ours is that it is exclusive for the members only. But it gives me an opportunity to work with people inside our industry, different brands, FMF athletes, artists that I've come over, talked throughout the years that aren't even in our space of motocross, surf, skate industry. Like, I get to tap into all these different people. So that's like the fun part for me is like, man, yeah, like maybe one day we do and I call you up, Biggie, I need you to design me an FMF Yosh tee. What's that look like? And then someone opens the box because they have no idea what the shirt's going to look like. They don't even know what color the shirt is what they're getting. And then they open this thing up and they're like, whoa, that's super cool. And like,
or you better watch it. They might cancel their subscription after that one, dude. Like, this isn't what I ordered.
Yeah. Like the one we just shipped, it was pretty special to me because I always write like a letter in the box, and it's just, something that's going on in my life or FMF or just in general about the brand. The one I did last month was I did a tribute to Marty Moats, and Marty was like a really like person that I looked up to, one of my dad's best friends, like when I was younger. And you know, his story is so crazy. You know, won the 1980 USGP at Carlsbad, the iconic track. He's the local kid that's going against all the Europeans. Just winning that's so special. But then like getting to know him and like seeing his role in like No Fear, like. You know, when I was a kid, like No Fear was the huge, massive brand. And I remember one time he told me like he thought it was crazy because in their 1 month, they did their first $1 million. And then it went to 1 week, they did their first $1 million. And then they did $1 million week. And then they did like $1 million day. And like, can you imagine like that's how quick this brand was going? And he was crazy. He was a part of all of it. Like you're doing $1 million in t-shirts, just t-shirts. That's what they were making back then. Just t-shirts with sayings on it. And it took off that quick that they did $1 million day. And so anyways, I kind of talked about that in my little story. And then unfortunately, he passed away. But it was cool to be able to do stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like normally we wouldn't, but it was awesome to be able to like paint that picture for people and kind of give them a little bit of insight of
I think,
me and my relationship.
For me on the outside of it, like it gives your brand some personality too, more personality. Like, hey, there's real people there's real stories behind what you're doing there. And that's kind of like what we're doing with this podcast. I'm like, there's real stories that need to be told that like people don't talk about because everything's just so, oh, there's a podcast and this would happen at this race and then after 2 days, it's dead. Yeah. It's like what we want to do here is more evergreen. Like you could listen to this talk that we're doing now 2 years from now. Like, oh, that's sick.
Exactly. Except for I did drop that I might be going to Indy Supercross. But anyways. That's okay. We'll speed past that. I'm stoked to be, I guess, your honorary first guest of this
you got the sickest
Pivotable podcast.
The other guests that are going to come don't expect this level. Yeah. But we had to do something that.
This is pretty blown away, and this is something that I'm going to cherish for forever. And I really, really appreciate you and Yoshimura for having FMF and Lil D, and we got Big E over here, and so the Big E Lil D show. Yep. Call it that.
Yeah, we could do that. So actually, we're going to have to, I think we mentioned it, but I think if this thing has any staying power, maybe we come to FMF next year and do another one and talk about
we'd love to have you down.
With electric bikes. And
man. Yeah, where we're at with sound. Hey, remember that talk we had? Let's go back and where are we at now?
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, man, thank you so much for
having me. It's such an honor to have you here. And honestly, like, the olive branch is extended. So like anytime, well, we're still going to be looking to kick your butt on the racetrack.
Yeah. But we're still going to be competitors, but hopefully
I won't
people
throw
watch
beer
this.
At your head.
Yeah.
Supercross.
Yeah. And I won't put up a billboard in your backyard. So
if you do that, I'll understand it from the marketing aspect.
You're like, that's actually kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, no, hopefully people watch this podcast and took something from it and enjoyed it. And we're looking forward to doing more.
Yeah. And honestly, like, dude, 50 years for the FMF, right? Like it's 51 now or 52?
53, yeah.
53. So cheers to that.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's, there's not a lot of companies that has staying power. So cheers to that. Yep. And again, thanks for coming. And I'm so stoked. I couldn't think of a better guy to have on our first episode to kind of launch this thing to like people going, how FMF talking to Yoshimura?
We're bringing in a direct competitor, and they even gave me a tour around their facility, so that's pretty cool. Well, I think look forward to doing the same thing for you guys.
That's cool. It has to be transparent, or it's not real, right?
Yeah. So awesome. All right,
cool, man.
Thank you.
Let's do it.
Yeah.